Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Vjal podcast. Good to see you again. I'm Mark Troy, your host. I'm happy to be here once again with Adi Burlia, the founder of the Vjal Institute. Hi, Adi. How you doing?
Doing well, Mark. Great to have another crazy week in AI.
I know it's can't even keep up with it all. So, as a reminder, the Vjal Institute can be found at vjal.ai. You can also reach us at outreach@vjal.ai. Vjal Institute, we have amazing training resources for people wanting to do AI empowerment for their companies, for their teams, for students, for universities. Please reach out to us. We have live in-person training. We have online coaching. So please reach out. So, Adi, crazy busy week. Let's start with the big news. Another model is being banned. I can't access my new ChatGPT. What's going on?
So, I mean, I wouldn't say banned, but I would say gated release. But you could probably say banned, I suppose, right? So it's a great model. And so, OpenAI launches 5.6, and they've done, Sol, Terra, Luna, Sun, Earth, Moon theme, which is they're getting better at naming their model. At least we're not confusing, hey, 5.40 versus 4 Pro and versus so they've left that behind. And so they're trying to make it a little bit more accessible for people to understand. Now, Sol is their flagship model. And of course, this is their internal benchmarks, which are being panned out. And you have the Sol Ultra, which is better than Sol, which is in terminal bench, which is the one that runs on your computers and one that runs Codex and Claude. It's doing really well. But all across the board, I think it did really well. I thought I would show one interesting thing before we jump into it. They show that their ability to exploit is not as good as Mythos. And so people have said, wait a minute, is it not good enough? And my thing was like, well, if Mythos got banned because it could exploit cybersecurity, this might be intentional to be
We're
under the
we're
Mythos.
only we're only 80% as dangerous as the other model. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit down, man. So if you ban this, we are well underneath that threshold. So don't count us towards that the Mythos threshold, right? But we're well above Opus, which is there. So I like this ban, and to me that was more showing that hey, don't ban us, rather than oh my God, look, we can also do this really well. But look, it is absolutely brilliant model. They're putting a lot of work into it, but we can't access it. So they've given it to the friends and family, which is ultra verified partners, which means 20 to 100 companies in the US. A lot of conspiracy theories on who got it and who didn't. There's the classic issue that you have to be a US passport holder to access these. The same thing that was sort of put forward for the Mythos model. We were supposed to get access to it this week. It's been 4 or 5 days. And so we were hoping by the time we hit this podcast, we'd be talking about having access to the model, but that hasn't happened yet. And in one sense, it's what a lot of people have been calling for, that we need to slow down. This is going too fast. We need to put in, security regulations and all. It was just unexpected it would happen so fast, so soon, and perhaps so bluntly. Thanks to, I would say, the fear led by Claude and how they set this up. But the interesting part is, or the good part, I would say, more than anything else, have been consistent, right? So if you ban Mythos, you want to sort of get ChatGPT 5.6 there. And if they manage to get it this week, at least it'll set us a cadence in showing that, okay, new model comes out, here's the path to regulatory approval. It's going to take a week or two. The real worry is, of course, which is what Dario called out. Like, let's do it like the FAA. The FAA takes 20 years to get a plane, right? And I think that was the big concern, that, hey, we have a state of the art model, and now it goes into government regulatory check, like the FDA or the FAA. 1 year later, 2 year later is when it's released, or even 3 months later in the world of AI is forever. So good news and bad news. The bad news, it got stuck. We're all waiting for it. The good news is that if it comes out this week, at least we'll have timelines between model making and model releasing and regulatory approval. And that, I think, will calm a lot of nerves.
So today, as an end user, I have access, I guess, to 5.5. Still not a bad model, but it doesn't have these superpowers yet, right?
Correct. And I had Fable for 24, 48 hours, I think. I ran 3 accounts all out. We talked about this in the last one. It was it was pretty good. So, I was really sad. I could feel the withdrawal symptoms the moment I lost access. And so I'm pretty excited that okay, we are going to get a highly capable model out that'll take us a little bit further. along in all of our AI journeys.
Cool. Great, Addy. Well, so look, let's go to number two. For years, people have talked about the Apple tax. The Apple tax is basically you're paying a premium to get Apple products in the Apple ecosystem to get good quality products with a lot of good support behind them, but you're paying more for a laptop or another tablet. Now there's the AI tax, and Apple is kind of leading the way. It's not an actual tax, but it's more, everything's costing more because of shortage in chips and memory. What's going on?
I've had a lot of debates on this last couple of weeks. Some of our clients at Vjal are some of the big guys who build all the data centers, right? So they kind of share with us some of these internal things. A lot of it's under NDA. Some of it I can share. We're seeing a phenomenal, complete explosion in everything compute, right? Now you have a lot of people saying, look, there's too much happening. People are saying, no, no, we don't have enough. But the fact is that whether you and I can discuss whether you need more tokens or less tokens. The thing is, people are building lots of data centers, right? They are booking memory, chips, and prices 4 or 5 years into the future. Most of the major memory manufacturers have closed their consumer divisions down. And they did that because they said we have nothing to sell to consumers, right? Our entire factory production is booked out. And there's no point having branding, consumer sales, etc., because we have nothing to sell. So you have that kind of huge demand market coming in. And so obviously across the supply chain, things start to get short, and particularly stuff like, high-end laptops, which do use very high-end RAM and some high-end chips. So the same chips and RAM that may be used in AI data centers or in AI workloads, they start getting this. And that cascading domino effect is what's affecting us all, right? At the top level, you have the very high-end enterprise stuff, which goes, full supply turned out for 3 to 6 years. Many of the large data centers like Elon's see it as a strategic. So even if they're not utilizing it, they want to buy it so others can't get it, right? And so they're sort of hoarding their sovereigns are now hoarding it because we just talked about it. ChatGPT goes offline, Fable goes offline. They're like, holy, we need to control our own data centers. And so they're buying this as well. In that frenzy, it's hitting all the way down to the consumer. So you would think if I'm buying a cheap laptop for my kid, this thing shouldn't be impacting me. This is the graphics cards and the high-end chips and the RAM. But as people fall back, okay, I can't get the top thing. Let me get the next. It's driving all the way down to consumer pricing. I really hope that the sheer demand and the scale, capitalism 101, econ 101, pushes the supply to dramatically increase. And we've seen cycles of this in chips and in RAM, shortages and then suddenly oversupply, then shortages and oversupply. But at least the next 2 years, things seem to be called for. And I'm starting to agree with people who are saying that, look, if you're going to buy a new laptop or buy a couple of servers now, it might be a good time. I myself have been scouring the used markets to pick up servers, RAM chips, and so you can see how all of this ecosystem is finally plugging in. But that said, maybe I think 2 to 3 years from now, there will be a hangover. I think a lot of people would have bought a lot of capacity, but they wouldn't know how to deploy it, or there would be winners and losers. And like in every cycle of overhype, we should see a bit of a dip, but that doesn't help us right now.
Look, I saw people complaining that for years Apple's been buying memory for $5 and charging you 50. So now it's costing them 50 and they're charging you 250. They're still making their money better than before, but it's a big pain in the pocketbook for the consumer.
Mark, it's worse. You can't even buy it, right? So if you want to buy a 128 GB MacBook, which is the one I'm using right now, which is 2 years old, forget it. They won't even sell you one.
All right. So look, you're kind of talking about digital autonomy a little bit. We don't have I can't use my Fable. I can't use my ChatGPT 5.6. What's a boy to do? Are there other models out there that I can use that are almost as powerful as these and will get the job done?
Right. So I think what's very interesting, it all sort of came together, right? You had Fable that gets knocked off, and then you have 7 top-end Chinese models that come out the same couple of weeks, right? And GLM 5.2, Miramax there, Alibaba came onto the new model, China's DoorDash came onto the model yesterday, and you can hear all about that in our monthly State of the AI updates. But they are neck and neck, right? So, they're not like a year behind, they're months behind. And so if you see a Fable 5 come out and a 5.6 come out at the current trajectory, and the founders of these labs, who are, by the way, all now speaking to the English verse as well on X, on other platforms. They're saying, yeah, don't worry, give us 3 months. By the end of the year, we'll have Fable 5 beating models. They're just cooking right now, and they're going to come out, and we believe we can do that. So it's a very hard call for governments like the US to say, hey, and again, full credit to Anthropic for causing the fear and panic, that, hey, we're going to restrict US innovation and access to these models by the US, but at the same time, here's other countries and companies, and you can, there's a lot of arguments how they get access to technology, whether it's self-built or they stole it or whatever. But the fact is that they are there, and they've delivered in the last 2 years consistently, with one better model after the other after the other. And so it's very hard to run an arms race or sort of a nuclear deterrent system when the other side, and these are open source, open weights, right? So it's not just that, hey, we're going to put this out there. Oh, no, we're going to teach the world how to build these models, right? And so
Yeah.
you have China today, you'll have Europe tomorrow, you'll have a couple of states like the UAE and Singapore, who I'm sure will now start funding their own models based off on the open source. So it's going to be a very hard call. But that said, if you look at the Chinese models, one of the big things that the US companies would say, hey, it's the Chinese models. You don't know where your data is going, etc. What's starting to happen is we're seeing a lot of hyperscalers, a lot of AI chip guys, even Cerebus, for example, who are hosting the open source Chinese models on their hardware. So you're getting US servers, US security with the Chinese models because you're able to put them in the servers and lock them out. And some of these are at 90% discount to what you would get from Anthropic or from OpenAI, with very similar performance to their cutting edge models today. And so, it's that arms race is just getting started. And we're going to see, month to month exponential models coming out. And I think the idea that the US or any one country can control AI in terms of the clamping down on the AI labs and companies is just not going to happen. And by the way, and I'll end with this. We talked about it briefly when we had the Anthropic thing a couple of weeks ago, but a large percentage of the talent in the US, which is building these models, aren't US citizens,
Yeah.
right? And I think part of that is them having to delicately balance. That said, I think the administration has been reasonable in the way they're talking about it. There are some very sophisticated folk who are advising them. So I'm not worried until we see some some things happen in the next couple of weeks. So the race is on and the pressure is on.
Yeah, I think I said last time that I don't really like them overreacting, but I'm a little worried. What if they underreacted later? So yeah,
Or worst case scenario, right now it's you and I, reasonable people, can say, look, Fable 5 or ChatGPT 5.6 isn't going to end the world and cause nuclear destruction, right? But one of these models will.
mm,
It's just a matter of time. And we'd rather get nuanced reactions and regulatory early on, which are smart and under pressure. So at least it's not a zero-sum game or like,
yeah.
complete gate, versus a year from now or 2 years from now, where it'll be a lot harder to advocate for the models because, quite frankly, they're that scary.
All right, I'm adding a little asterisk to the bottom of the screen. AI models will not end the world. We hope so. Good. Thank you, Adi. So next, we have a nice demo every week. We haven't talked in our podcast in the past few weeks. It seems like the new hot thing with AI. It was prompting, then it was agents. Now it seems looping. Looping is a way to really get great performance. Explain a loop and maybe show one to us if you can.
No, 100%, Mark. So I have a quick Claude set up, and I'll sort of run this through you. So a loop basically is two parts, right? So there are two things that are called a loop. One concept is a loop of just winning by iteration, right? Is that, look, think of it, right? You start with a draft of a paper, right? And you say, okay, first draft, right? Then you read it again and get feedback. Then you read again and you feedback, and you kind of loop it again and again and again and again until you're like draft 10 before you submit it, which is a very natural human thing to do, and hopefully get some insight and feedback. And so this notion that if you get the agent to relook at the work, or agents to get rid of the work, it sort of goes on and on and on and makes things better. But the other side is, of course, the loop as the goal, which comes out from a joke called the Ralph loop, which is pretty much that the agent keeps going at it until it actually works. So it'll try this, it won't work. It'll try that, it won't work. Try that, it won't work. And there's a joke between the Einstein theory of insanity repeating the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, and it actually working because at some point it will figure it out. Loops have become the way to do things right now. And let me pull up my Claude and try to show you a simple version. What I did earlier, and it's still kind of running, was to ask it to sort of write a great research paper on token maxing based on internet research. Don't judge the prompt; it's terrible, I know. And it sort of opened this. First, what I want to show you is a couple of things. One is I sort of pushed it to run a lot of agents. So it is running 31 agents within the harness, each one taking up tokens. So if you wondered on a token maxing on, what's happening to your tokens, this is something that you can do, and you can push on how many agents you would like to do, and sort of how well you want to sort of think through that, and this will happen. But then at the end of it, one of the things you could do is you could say, hey, and by the way, this used to have a loop command, right?
Yeah.
Right? And loop and the interval and the prompt, like every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes or every 10 minutes. Now, there are two types of loops here. One, I could say without this and say, hey, run free agent editor team on this at the end. Keep looping until full consensus achieved. And quality score is 99 out of 100, right? And it would start off sort of a three agent editor team, and they'll keep going again and again and again and again in a loop that will constantly go and sort of will do it. And it'll drop the paper, it'll run the loop, etc. And I was going to wait for the research to finish, and I didn't want to show you the insanity of all the verification, but now it started the verification loop here, where it's going to fetch. Now it's going to verify, and it's going to go in circles. Three editors, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and they will run in a loop. But then I can run a loop there and say, hey, and say every 5 minutes, check in on how the research is going and nudge it along, send me an update, right? And now this has created a loop of every 5 minutes. It'll come in, check, and do it again, check, and do it again, check, and do it again. I can use this for nudging. You can use this for cleaning. And what for you technical people out there, it's just basically using a cron job at the bottom. And every 5 minutes, it's going to do under R, so it's going to stay in a loop and schedule. So those are the three types of, although it's called a loop, but the concept is taken off. Nowadays, more and more people are using what is called the goal. And that works in most of these, including Codex, including a Claude, where you said, hey, I don't really care whether you loop or not. I just want you to get till the very end. And this is my goal. And keep looping, 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 trying whatever you want to do, as many loops as you want until you finish that. And it's more outcome based, and it leaves the loop decisions to the system itself rather than dealing with it manually, which is what we've done, is the 3-4 different types of loops. This will burn all your tokens really fast. So I do warn you, we're talking about token maxing. This is exactly how you're doing. And so for those of you who woken up in the morning and said, how are people using all their tokens? Here you go. One paper, hundreds and hundreds of agents and employees running on loops, trying to figure this
it's
out.
very meta of you, Adi, to burn all your tokens writing about token use,
Yeah, exactly. I'll stop there, and I'm going to stop it because I need my tokens. So
Well, look, Adi was just showing you all how to do this on Claude, and Claude does it really well. But you can also do it in Codex and other tools as well. The looping is a key
you
concept
can
of
do
the
it,
mini.
you can do it in Codex, in Grok Build, Open Code. All of these things support looping. It does have to be one of the more code-oriented versions. You can't do this in something like Cowork as well, but they're merging all of these together. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, you won't see the difference.
Yeah, your chat interface is just ChatGPT on your web browser won't do it. You have to have one of these other models, but otherwise, yeah. So good, thanks, Eddie. So look, every week we kind of wrap up with a story about customer success. You've seen some customer that's worked with Vjal and transformed things using AI. I think you said you were going to talk about construction today. Is that right?
Oh, I love construction, right? Because every time someone comes to me, they're like AI construction. I mean, come on. I mean, what does that do that? I'm like, wait. There's a lot you can do in construction. And I love these guys. They are one of the I'm going to hold to my ideas here, one of the large players in, let's say, in the southern hemisphere in the world. And one of the big things that they wanted to comment and I said, look, for us, quality control is everything, right? They have a lot of sites all across the thing. They have teams going to look at these sites. But one of the big issues that they have is that, they're known for quality. Like if it's our brand on there, it has to be perfect. How do we do this? And for us, one of the very interesting parts was that the vision models caught up, right? Used to use things like YOLO and all, which were very difficult, and the construction industry has been trying to use them for years. So these guys did two, three very interesting things that I thought was fantastic. One, we got them to put up drones, right? So they had site drones. And so the drones, it's fantastic camera that can sort of zoom in on various things. So they can see the entire site, they can see the people, they can see the floor plates, they can see all of these. Take those back and it processes against safety auditors, processes against quality auditors, right? You have the reports that are coming from the field, but then you have the drone sort of verifying that. Hey, they're saying the slabs have been put up to this level. Have they been put? Yes, they have. No, they've not. Flag it. Inventory has arrived on site. Has it arrived on site? Has it not? From that basics to taking the entire safety regulatory handbook and saying, okay, identify all safety issues on the site that need to be urgently flagged and remediated. I love that. Simple things like take a picture of this, good weld, bad weld, what's happening on this, were these bricks properly done as per things? Even small high quality issues are there. Now, there are very good humans who do this, but humans get tired. Humans have to have multiple sites. And so they still have their humans teams going in, but what this has, it's given a massive quality stopgap, particularly the drones can automatically keep going and doing site surveys 2 times, 3 times a day. They don't do it that often, but they could theoretically. And at the same time, the humans have just a cameras and they can just take pictures and it automatically writes it up. Here's the safety violation, or here's the issue that's there because it sort of concurs and matches. I love that they started with safety, with compliance, with regulatory, because I thought they were really, really nice to keep their brand up. But of course, now they're inserting those learnings into their project management, into their filing systems, into floor planning. And so if you ever hear someone who says, oh, this AI is all virtual, you can't get into the physical world, trust me, there are amazing examples of where we see amazing workflows, amazing applications where even some of the basic AI models can make a huge difference.
I love the fact too that you can have the AI basically green check mark everything that's clearly compliant and good, and then it only escalates the things that maybe it's not clear or not sure, and then it's a human make a decision if it needs further investigation. So great.
Absolutely. And it's just, and sometimes a second pair of eyes, right?
Yeah.
They have a look and they said, hey, is it as per this thing? I mean, you can't trust the AI's 100% yet, but having someone that's right 90%, 95%, not too bad. And it's a nice extra pair of eyes to have on site.
Okay. Well, thanks, Saudi. It's been a great week. So 3 stories, one demo, and one business success. Thanks. So you guys will get this every week if you tune in. Vjal podcast. You can find us at vjal.ai, YouTube, and also check out our contact us by emailing our website, outreach@vjal.ai. We're here to support you. Thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks everyone for joining. Happy building this week, and call us if you need help.
Yeah. Bye bye.